Rachamim, Chesed, Shalom, love and compassion, kindness and peace, love and compassion, kindness and peace, Ahava, Rachamim, Chesed, Shalom, Ahava, Rachamim, Chesed, Shalom, Ahava, Rachamim, Chesed, Shalom. Good morning. I'm here in my basement, slightly displaced, but for some reason I look like I'm so tan. Could you imagine? I could pretend that I was on a major vacation. It's not like red, like high blood pressure. I don't know if you're seeing the same, but on my screen I'm looking super tan. So I'm going to pretend that I'm away somewhere and not, the day after shoveling some inches of snow. I'll just pretend that we're somewhere that's so great. But we are somewhere that's so great in this moment, even though there's lots of not great moments in time that we're holding on to. There's some good news in the community, some not so good news in the community, and so here we are in the middle of all of that, which is on this day, for Christians, Ash Wednesday, for Jews, a regular day, and for humanity, for many, the day of Ahava, the day of love. And so somebody said, "Oh, did you do all your little Valentine's Day for Ellis's friends in school?" And I said, no, because he goes to a Jewish preschool and they don't celebrate Valentine's Day as a thing. And then I laughed to myself and said out loud, but last week was, it's been Kindness Month for all of February, and last week was the Kindness Exchange. Well, if that doesn't sound so similar to the Valentine's Day exchange, I don't know what does. It's only a week apart, but whatever it is, blessing, to share kindness and love. And so I'll share with you one story of this morning before we get to maybe what we need to talk about a little bit, which ties right in. So I'm driving Ellis to school this morning, and there's like blinding sun. And so the sun is blinding because it's reflecting off the snow that's on the ground, and it is what it is. So you put the visor down, and I made a comment like, "Oh, I don't like the sun. It's blinding me." And Ellis was immediately mad about this. Agronome, taken aback, he said, "Ima, don't say that. We like the sun. We need the sun, because if we don't like the sun, we won't know if it's nighttime or if it's morning time." All right, valid, kid. I said, "You know what, Ellis, you're right. So we just say that we love the sun because the sun is very good for us." And I said, "You're right, but sometimes the sun isn't really good for us. Like, if we forget our sunscreen, then we can end up with problems. But yes, the sun is good." He said, "Well, we won't forget the sunscreen because mommy loves sunscreen," which is true. My wife is a sunscreen connoisseur and exemplary at making sure that we're wearing it, which is great. But, just from a child's perspective, we see things as burdens, right? Okay, I'm driving, the sun's, the glare is so hard to see. And from his perspective, like, how could I say that I don't like the sun when we love the sun? Because it reminds us that there are different times of day and how awesome that is. And so when I think about the day of love, or Valentine's Day, or, I would say Yom Ha'ahava, but that's usually in the beginning of summer, celebrated as the day of love. But I think about what comes with love is generosity. And when we come to this week's Parsha of Terumah, we talk about the construction of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, the tent of meeting, whatever words you like to use to describe that. And the sides of the sanctuary were meant to be made of acacia wood. And each plank was supposed to have 2 tenons, which were kind of like this interlocking system. And I shared this teaching, I think it was 2 years ago. I'm not sure exactly when it was, but today, as it falls out on the week of Valentine's Day, it really struck me. So it says in Exodus 26:17, the sides of the sanctuary, the walls should be of acacia wood. They should have 2 tenons and parallel to each other, and do the same with the planks of all the tabernacle. So every plank should look the same, and every plank should have 2 tenons coming off the end of it. The tenon is this jutting out piece of wood so that the planks could interlock with each other and be secure. Similar to 2 hearts, similar to 2 hands, similar to that which is how we hold ourselves together to another. The Hebrew word for these interlocking projections are yadot. Yadot, literally meaning hands. Sometimes we say yadayim, but yadot. In other words, the planks are holding hands with each other in order to hold themselves up and together. That we interlock hands in order to stand firm. The tenons are sometimes compared to the hands of the one who gives tzedakah and to the hands of the recipient. Both of them, hands of God. They reach out and connect the same way the planks reach out and hold one another. So generosity is something that allows connection between one person and another, between oneness or God and another of God's creations. And it can be found, or it can be mentioned, or it can be noted that God is in those connections. And so just as the planks need each other to stand up and to stand firm and to create something bigger outside just this one piece of wood with 2 jutting out tenons, it is the interlocking. We say that each and every human soul, each and every human, each and every person has the ability to change the world. And that job would be really tough as a one person kind of thing. But if we think about how we connect with each other to make a strong, more of a stronghold, that we uplift each other and that we support each other and that we come together with mission work and efforts and collaboration, we are that much stronger for it. The Hebrew word "venatnu," which means they gave. If we think about that word, "venatnu," in Hebrew, is a palindrome. It's both forward and backwards read the same way. If you read it right to left, it's the same as if you read it left to right. And so it reminds us that they gave, generosity is reciprocal. It goes both ways, right? We've all had relationships and friendships and where you're the giver, the giver, the giver, the giver, and that's okay for you and you're not receiving. And the majority of the time, those relationships don't work. In friendship, in partnership, in romance, and whatever those relationships that we have is, it can't be one-sided, right? It has to be that we do things collectively and that there is some sort of give and take and there's some sort of meeting in the middle and there's some sort of interlocking and weaving ourselves together. And so if we go back to those tenons, those 2 pieces that come off the acacia wood and apply this teaching, we could say that generosity flows from one plank to the other and back again. It's kind of like a fluid system of interconnection. So in the Psalms we read, V'ruach nediva tismecheni. Let a generous spirit sustain me. Let a generous spirit sustain me. Beruach nediva tismecheni. Psalm 51:14. Like the two sides of the plank. This verse can be understood in two ways. Either we receive, and therefore someone else's generous spirit sustains us, or we give, and our own acts of generosity make our life worthwhile. Either way, generous spirit sustains me. V'ruach nadiv tismecheni. Let a generous spirit sustain me. So why should we be generous? Because generosity elevates the soul. It reminds us of our obligatory connection to the world, those around us. Striving to live with generosity is an aspiration that, some people, when they hear the word generosity, they only think of financial ability to help. And we're not all in the same financial wherewithal to be opening our hands every moment to give money to each and every charity and cause that the phone doesn't stop ringing, the mail is such a waste of postage, or we just throw it in the garbage. But it's more than that. It's much more than that. Generosity is an everyday practice. It doesn't mean that your wallet is always open. Of course, when you can give, that's, Torah teaches to give a tenth. Torah teaches to give the corners of your property. Torah teaches to open your hand and open your heart. But the everyday practice is not just money. It's time. It's a listening ear. It's an action. It's the inspiration of what you have to offer to help somebody else out, no matter what it is. The tangibility of it doesn't need to be in the dollar bill form. But whatever another person may be needing, perhaps you have it and you can share it. So if we could remind ourselves of this midah, this value in which healthy living exists. So you take this upon yourself and you cultivate it and you hold on to it and you remind yourself that sometimes we need to have taped mantras on our bathroom mirrors, or we need to write it down on the corner of our appointment book, or maybe it's in our address book if people still have those, or maybe it's your cell phone lock screen that you need to put it on, or maybe you need to write it on a Post-it and stick it in your car, whatever it is. On your computer screen, we spend enough time on there, or your iPad. Make it your password. Begin your day. After you're thankful for existence, with the words, let a generous spirit sustain me. If we start our day and end it this week, we're on Wednesday. We don't even have a lot of days to do this, but we have a lifetime to continue it. Let us think about these words. Let a generous spirit sustain me. Can we cultivate generosity this week? Can we find a place financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually to commit to it together? Together, we hold hands. Together, we stand firm. Together, we are better. We are one human family, one heart of abundant love. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 9:30. And we will be here Friday morning at 9:30 and Friday night at 7:30 and Saturday morning at 9:30, and continuing to realize that we are the tenons that hold each other together, just like acacia wood, just like that tabernacle, Mishkan, the sanctuary, the place of presence, the place of generosity, of spirit. Let us remember that a generous spirit sustains us, sustains us all. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Od Avinu Chai.